Finally, after 2 whole months, Duel Links has gotten itself a brand new box, and it's honestly a bit of a banger box at that one. We've been given Utopia, BLS, Toon support of all things. But obviously, out of all the archetypes released, there is one archetype that stands probably to be the most promising out of them all. Tenyi, which honestly looks really goddamn strong. Now, the only issue with Tenyis at the moment is that unlike a game like Master Duel or just standard IRL Yu-Gi-Oh!, we don't have this gigantic worm pool, because this archetype is generally pretty good at just being splashed into a bunch of other worm decks. But Duel Links, we don't really have that many other worm cards in the game, meaning we're basically locked into only playing the pure build, which is kinda lame, and honestly, being locked out of things just kinda sucks. Like, imagine if you were region locked out of watching your favourite TV shows or playing your favourite games. That would just suck, wouldn't it? If only there was some way you could fix that. This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Now honestly, I can't stress enough how important and useful having a VPN service is, especially for basement dwellers like me, who spend our entire time indoors playing video games and watching Japanese cartoons. You see, many countries have this really annoying habit of just region locking their content, meaning you normally wouldn't have access to a whole bunch of really decent stuff, whether that be TV shows, anime, or even video games. But by simply using Surfshark, you can change your location and get around these really annoying locks. Did you know Duel Links and even Cross Duel were both region locked on release? That means this channel you're watching right now might never have even existed if I didn't have a way to access these games. And it's as easy as just clicking a button. As soon as you've done so, not only is your location changed to one of 100 plus countries, but your data is also encrypted, meaning you continue browsing the internet privately and safely, even when watching videos just like this one. Purchasing a 24-month VPN plan is seriously one of the best options you've got right now, and Surfshark has a great offer of 3 months extra. Just scan the QR code on screen, check my link in the description, or even just use my promo code LOOM. Just try it out yourself, and if you find a better VPN solution for all your devices with 24/7 support, remember, this one has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code, check my link in the description, or even use my promo code. Thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and let's get on with your regular scheduled programming. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before we get to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So if you guys are enjoying this content and want to see more deck lists from me in the future, remember to do a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this list. So the first thing you might notice about my build in particular is I kept it extremely simplistic, and honestly, that is on purpose. I didn't want to play any of the field spell or play any level 4s, because they don't really help in your goal to get a hold of your level 8 synchros, because obviously the level 4 and the level 1, they don't really mesh well together to actually make anything from the extra deck that isn't one of your link monsters. And the actual effects of these cards are only usable on your non-effect monsters, things that you generally don't want to keep on the field that much outside of keeping the link 1 occasionally as part of your standard combo, but most of the time, even if your opponent tries to target one of these, you don't need the protection from your field spell, because you're going to use your Heavenly Dragon Circle to tribute it off anyway to special summon something out from the deck. So yeah, I don't really see the need in running protection for cards that you're planning to tribute, and you don't summon this card very often anyway, meaning the actual non-effect monsters you keep on field just aren't that common or in need of any sort of protection, so I didn't see any use of running these sort of cards. So for you guys that have never actually seen this archetype before, let me give you a real brief rundown on what it actually does. So each of your Tenyis has this nice little effect where if you control no effect monsters, you can just special summon them straight out from your hand. Then they all have a nice little bonus effect for if you have a non-effect monster on the field. Basically, they can be banished from your hand or graveyard for various effects. This one can summon out another Tenyi from the deck, this one can return any card on the field to the hand, and this card can grab any of your banished cards and add them back to your hand, which is very important considering, like I said, all these cards banish themselves for their effect. Then we have the spell cards, which are both equally really goddamn good. The first one's going to be your Circle. This card can tribute one worm-type monster to add one worm-type monster from your deck to your hand, or if you tributed a non-effect monster to activate this card, you can special summon it instead, but negate its effects. This is really goddamn strong, it's basically like a really pseudo mask change sort of a card, where if your opponent tries to target one of your cards to remove it, you just use this in response, tribute off your monster, search for another Tenyi, or even special summon one to the field, and just continue comboing off as if nothing had happened. Alright, then during your main phase, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add one Tenyi card from your deck to your hand. You can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn, so keep that in mind, you can only use one of the effects per turn. But also keep in mind, you do have a link monster in here that does discard, so sometimes you can just discard this card to then search for another Tenyi if you want to do it for some sort of combo reason. The other spell card in the deck is going to be your Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. This card can send one worm-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can add from your deck to your hand one Tenyi monster with a different name from the monster you sent to the graveyard. You can activate one Vessel for the Dragon Cycle once per turn. So this card is incredibly strong. It's a Foolish Burial and a search for the archetype if you have a non-effect monster on the field, which most of the time you should have one on the field, as this is literally a Link 1, so insanely powerful card, a search and a Foolish Burial for a bunch of cards that like being in the graveyard. Then we have your extra deck, which is relatively simplistic, as 3 cards in here are literally a Link 1 with no effect, and you have a Link 3 with also no effect, but the other cards, they do actually have some useful effects. Your Link 2 is a great card that takes 2 worm monsters. You can discard one card to then target one worm-type monster in your graveyard, special summon it to the field. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special summoned from the extra deck except Tenyi monsters. So keep that in mind, as it means you won't be able to use your Baxia after you use this card's effect, but you can use your Draco Berserker. Alright, when attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So very useful when you're swinging with one of your Link 1s that you summon back from the graveyard, or if you somehow get your Link 3 on the field in combination with your Link 2, you get a pop a card as well. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the decklist portion of the video. The rest of the video gameplay showcasing the decklist in action, and without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so today I've got 6 replays to share with you guys, all of which were gathered in Platinum, but keep in mind the season literally reset just a few hours ago, so that could also explain why the deck's win rate was so high, because we're only playing in Platinum currently, but yeah, the season did just reset, so most of these guys should have been Legend at the very least. But if you're wondering about win rates and stuff, I had an insane run with this deck list. I think I was winning like 70% of the games I played, but that could be because I was playing against a lot of jank stuff anyway, so I don't know. I think this deck list is pretty good, but I have no idea if it's going to be meta relevant or anything like that, so let's just get into it. Alright, up against Duel Avatar, trying out the new stuff, I'm guessing. Yeah, I think this deck list is going to be pretty goddamn good. I think out of all the new supporting archetypes, or new support we got for the archetypes, this one's looking like it's going to be the best of the new stuff, I think. Alright, so I'll start by Bookamooning his monster so he loses his only negate. Summon my card to the field, he uses no response on it. Goes my Monk with a Tenyi. He then tries to Duel Avatar to special summon his monster back to pop the card on the field. In response, activate my Heavenly, tribute it, swap it over, summon out another card from deck. Once again to go into another Link 1. Then tries to pop this card, which we don't really care about because we can just special summon another one and keep going. Yeah, the amount of extending this deck has is actually just incredible. Alright, now I've got absolutely nothing left on his field, so using our Vessel, send a card to graveyard to search for another Tenyi. Haven't used our normal summon by the way, so we can actually just normal summon this card. Activating the Ashuna to summon one back from the deck. Banishing to then add one back to hand, returning his final card to hand, normal summoning, go into our level 8. Easiest Berserker of my life, and we have literally got lethal on the field. Yeah. So hopefully that was already a good enough example for you guys to see just how good this deck can potentially be. There is so much room for just extending and just playing through stuff with the deck, which I think is its main advantage. The main weakness is you don't really have that good of a turn 1. You do have the potential banish monster from your Draco Berserker and maybe one lot of back row. But that's mostly it, so unless you're able to use 3 effects on your first turn to gain a bunch of life points, you're gonna be in a bit of a tricky situation a lot of games. Alright, now this guy's playing the new Onomat skill, but I'm not really sure why he went for an Abyss Dweller turn 1. I thought the whole idea of this skill was to go for 1 card rank force, then use the skill and whatever else, but anyway. Alright, so he uses Abyss Dweller. Now I want to show this replay in particular because I want to show that even though we're under Abyss Dweller right now, so we can't use any of our graveyard effects like your Tenyis normally are, if you have a good enough hand, you just don't care because you just use them from hand anyway. So we're going to tribute off our guy, get a non-effect monster on field, add Fate our Vishuda to remove the 1 back row. Thankfully it's Book of Moon, so we don't care. Banishing from hand, summoning a level 7, normal summoning. And there is our Tenyi. Setting our book and passing the turn. With a 4700 attack monster on the field that can quick effect banish. And then he summons the V Salamander, so he's using the new skill. We just sort of went for Abyss Dweller for some reason. Maybe he thought I was playing Orcust or something. Alright, moving on. 4 more replays. Up against Toons this time. Yeah, Toons, unfortunately, for this matchup is really bad for the Toon player, because their main protection is a field spell that you can just return to hand, because you got Vishuda. Because obviously this kingdom's protected by bookmarks standardly by things like MST or Standard Destruction, but Vishuda's a return to hand effect, so we actually just don't care. Also, Ice Dragon's Prison is really annoying. Alright, so Vishuda, special summon, he tries to Book of Moon it, fine, sure. Thankfully, when monsters are face down, they don't count as being effect monsters on the field, so I can just special summon this other Tenyi from my hand, I don't care. Alright, send 1 to the grave, search for another. Special summon from the deck, normal summon. He briefcases me because we're shuffling me back into the deck, but we're still good to go because we can still search for the Ashuna from the banished pile. And we can still special summon it. And again, we haven't used our normal, so we just normal summon a level 1. Yang Zing that use 2 different attributes to the effects, we destroy 2 cards. Unfortunately, this thing's protected from targeting, so can't destroy it currently. Or return it to deck, sorry. Alright, Tenyi discarding, sending back to level 1, so then we go into our Link 3. To pop the final card on the field, 3 effects to gain a bit of life points, and hit in the face. I'm not sure about 3 effects, but I'm not really sure what other skills are even good for this deck. Ice Dragon's Prison, apparently forgot this thing actually was a machine or something random. But it's fine, he's just dead on field, so... Yeah, I'm not sure about 3 effects for this deck list. It doesn't feel all that great. But at the same time, there's not really much else to use with it, so... You can probably play like a Destiny draw. I saw some people were playing Light and Dark, which... I don't know about that one, but... Yeah, I don't know. Alright, on to replay number 4. Which is a Dark Magician player. There's a couple of Dark Magician replays, actually. And this matchup could be a little bit annoying. The banishing thing is really irritating. Alright, getting his circle, getting his card on the field, and we're good to go. So summoning my Adhara, summoning my Tenyi, and he doesn't go for a banish on this thing, which is really annoying. He actually saved it. I don't even think that's even a good play, because most of the time in Tenyi, if they don't have Heavenly Dragon Circle, they're just going to have the other one in hand, which requires you to have the monster on field anyway, so I could have got a search out of it and a sent to graveyard, so I don't know. Waiting seems weird. But he waited, which in this case was actually the right play. That's purely by coincidence. Then Compulses the other one, which is really annoying. I just had to set and pass. Alright, summons the Moon Maiden. Goes for a Phoenix. Thankfully, he actually just played heavily into my Ice Dragon's Prison. He could have just summoned some Dark Magicians, so I wouldn't be able to do anything, but sure. Alright, Navigation. Summoning some dudes. Goes to banish my stuff in the graveyard. This is really annoying, by the way. Banishes my dudes from graveyard. But it's completely fine, because he tributes his own card, setting up a nice Ice Dragon's Prison for me again. And Dark Magician is actually a non-effect monster. So the Tenyis have a lot of synergy with no-effect monsters. So I can use my circle, get a search. Special summon out. Tribute him off for a Tenyi. Vishuda, special summon. Go into a Link 2. Return this thing to the extra deck. Special summon from the deck. That's a 7 and a 1, by the way, so I can go into a Synchro if I wanted to. I don't even know if these if I could go into a synchro with the extra deck cards. Either way, he was dead, so what does it matter? Alright. On to the last two replays. I really wouldn't be surprised if this deck ends up in some variation of it, ends up in at least tier 3. It does feel really goddamn smooth. I think the only main weakness is the turn 1. If someone figures out some good way to set up a decent turn 1, this deck will be just, it's too goddamn good. You just play through too much. Most Duel Links decks can't play through nearly as much as this one can. It's just so goddamn clean. Alright, special summoning, going for a Draco Berserker, and passing. Draco Berserker didn't feel too good here, because my opponent might not even use a monster effect on his turn if he's playing Dark Magician. That makes the Draco fairly weak, but I had to get out his one card banish anyway, and this thing's gonna dodge Link, so at the very least I might banish a Dark Magician here, like the a Rod here, so maybe this circle will be good. Alright, also if he's dumb enough and doesn't use it during standby or whatever, he just waits until I can use my Vishuda, then I can just remove the circle before I can even use this thing, so. Berserker completely protected. Didn't have his toggle on. Can banish this card, get rid of that illusion. Ashuna summoning out to level 7. Gonna tribute off the normal so I can summon a level 1. Go for my Zing, targeting both cards and removing them. He Book of Moons me, and you might think now, there's no shot you have lethal with this field. But I do. I can use my Tenyi to go into a Link 1, so I have a non-effect on the field. Activate my Ashuna, special summon itself, banish Adhara, return 1 to hand. That gives me a nice little discard. Activate the Shaman, discard, bringing back the Berserker, and that's lethal on field. And look how much this deck's playing through. It's actually crazy. There's no way this deck isn't at least, like, cog-worthy, at the very least. It's easily cog-worthy. If it doesn't end up being a top-tier deck, it's definitely going to be a rogue-level deck. You will see it win a couple of tournaments, or at least top a couple of tournaments, surely. And if any other Worm support ever gets released in Duel Links, my god is this deck going to be good. Alright, so True or Back Crow. So I summon my monster, he tries to bottomless me, tribute it off, swap it over. Unfortunately, this is a once per turn, so I can't do it again. Go for my Tenyi. Send to Graveyard, get a search. Vishuda, going to be returning one on the back row before I try to go for any of my bigger plays. Ashuna, summon out level 7. There's my Zing, returning 2 cards. Gets Fiendish Chained, apparently. So people play this card still for some reason. About to show him why you don't play that. Link summon off my monster, Tenyi discard, bring back my dude, Adhara, and then add it back to hand. Goes to my normal monster so I can gain 1 billion life points. And not going to kill this card because we're pretty sure it's a Blue Eyes player looking at just looking at him, he's probably playing Blue Eyes, so we're not going to kill his stone. And yeah, we just lethal him here, because we can just Vishuda, return this to hand, blah 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 blah, he's dead. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters. Thank you once again to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. There'll be a link to their app at the top of the description, as well as in the pinned comment if you want to download it. Thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Laters.